Hello, everyone, and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 558. 558. Monday, September 24th, 2018. Thank you so much for tuning in. Alrighty, let's cover some of the things that have gone on over the weekend, Sunday specifically, and where we are today with everything moving forward. And it continues to get uglier and uglier, as most of you know. So let's get with it. Okay, so let's talk about the Sunday morning show with Maria Bartiromo. She had Goodlatte on, and Goodlatte focused on three main things. He, of course, gave us the date for when Nellie Ohr will be coming in to testify. That will be Friday, October 19th. Now, seems to me to be pushing it back quite a way. It's giving her, some time. I'm not sure why she needs that much more time, why she needs a month to get prepared. She's known this is going to be going down for a very long time, so I think it has more to do with timing about the midterm elections and everything else. It's just they know that there'll be bad things that will be coming out of this interview, and they want to try to make sure that this information doesn't come out till after the midterms. And that's my guess on that, but it does look like Nellie Ohr on the 19th, if she doesn't back out or change her tune. Whether or not she'll answer any questions is up in the air. She could show up and then plead the fifth. She could do that very, very easily. Wouldn't put it past her at all. She's got a lot of problems. Then we have, of course, he's talking about the documents that he wants to subpoena. He's got these documents. I think he wants the McCabe notes. I don't know what else he's talking about, but he's, again, talking about going to subpoena documents this week. And he didn't get very, very specific, but I know he is interested in the McCabe notes. And what he hopes to learn from that, he didn't exactly say. And, of course, he continues to talk about the fact that, Trump needs to declassify everything. He needs to get this stuff out. He doesn't agree in holding it back. But he did say that if in fact, Trump's decided to let IG Inspector General Huckleberry Horowitz be the guy to look at these documents and decide how to expedite the release, then he seems to be okay to go along with that. But he is saying that that's based on the idea that Trump said that this stuff would all happen before the midterms, and specifically, Goodlatte wants to see the Inspector General Horowitz's report on the FISA abuse, which he's been supposedly involved in now for quite some time. Goodlatte wants to see that come out in the next 2 weeks. So Goodlatte's looking for the FISA report from the IG in the next 2 weeks, and he wants the other stuff that Trump has just dropped on him with all the documents, declassification, and all that. He wants that before the midterms. Of course, we have heard from other people this past week after Friday when Trump decided he was going to maybe hold off or change his tactics on the release of that stuff. We still have all the rest of those guys still calling for direct release of all the declassified documents. So we'll have to keep focusing on that, but right now most of the focus in the past week and probably this upcoming week will be still focused mostly on the Senate and the political stunt that's playing itself right now in the Senate Judiciary for the hearings for Judge Kavanaugh. So we also get Lindsey Graham, who is on with Fox with Chris Ratboy Wallace. And Lindsey Graham is basically reiterating what he's been saying for a very long time, which is that he wants a special counsel to investigate the FBI and DOJ. He essentially says that he uses the term now. You have Lindsey Graham using the term coup. He's describing it as a DOJ coup plot against the president. And he's very clear about it. He's not mincing any words. Said it right to Chris Ratboy Wallace's face. He says that the Senate should not compromise on having their lawyers conduct a questioning of Kavanaugh's accuser, and that only the accuser and the accused need to be interviewed or questioned. He said that is not negotiable, that's what they are looking at. And he said that the accuser, her attorneys, have still not really agreed to that. They've agreed to Thursday, but they have not agreed to those other two conditions. And Lindsey Graham says, well, they're not up for vote, that those are the two conditions by which she's going to testify. And if she doesn't like that, then I guess she's not going to testify, in which case we'll go ahead and hold the vote. That's what he's saying now. Then, of course, we had Nunes, and he was on also on Fox, and he raised a very, very good question. You know, we were talking yesterday and the day before about the fact that two foreign governments, which I think we all know is the UK and Australia, had requested Trump not to declassify and release all those documents. So we're all speculating on why that may be, and why the UK and the Australian government would be so concerned. And I think we all know, because of the role that they played in the coup. And so many of the things that went down during that time period happened. A lot of that stuff was happening back in the spring, was happening in the early summer, midsummer, was all happening in the UK. It was happening there in London. It was happening in Italy. It was happening to some extent in Ukraine. We even have a little Israeli intelligence involved here. Then, of course, we know Australia, because of Downer, kind of brings Australia into the game. We know he was acting as a spy. So a lot of these activities were taking place, and so obviously some of that they feel could be embarrassing to them. But Nunes really didn't focus too much on that. But what Nunes did do is he raised a very, very good question. And Nunes says, you know, so you have the UK and Australia. You know, we pretty much know that's the two people. Even Nunes pretty much said the UK and Australia. I mean, so there's no one really curious about who it is. We know who it is, the UK and Australia, asking Trump not to declassify. And so Nunes says to that, he says, you know what? He says, how does Australia and the UK know what is in the classified documents to even know that they could be damaging to them? How does the UK and the Australian government know what is in these documents that would be a problem for them? That's a very good question. They're telling Trump, "Hey, don't declassify them docs. They could cause some problems for us." How do they know that? How do they know what is in these documents that have not yet been declassified or released? Not even the highest members, high security clearance members on the House Intelligence Committee have been able to look at some of this stuff. Yet the governments of Australia and the UK know what is in these documents? Or is it just because, as a general notion, they know that they were deeply involved and that there's other things, and what those other things deal with, and what those other things deal with are associated to them? Maybe it's just that general knowledge. But it certainly raises questions and requires maybe a little more conspicuous investigation into that, and a little more questioning, as Devin Nunes is doing. You know, Trey Gowdy has commented he has read most of this stuff that is going to be declassified, and he said there's nothing there he can think of that would be particularly revealing sources and methods about the UK or Australia or even the US. He said it's not really, there's nothing about sources and methods, it's other things that are there. And he says he doesn't think it would change anyone's mind on either side anyway. And he said the only person who might really be pretty more embarrassed than anybody else about what's in these is John Brennan, Mr. Potato Head. Gowdy is suggesting there's something in the release of these 20 pages that would be damaging to Mr. Potato Head. But he doesn't seem to think it's that big of a deal. So that's kind of where we are from the Sunday morning from Lindsey Graham, Goodlatte, and Nunes, who all were on the Sunday morning shows to give their take. So they're all pretty much in the same place. They really want Trump to declassify this stuff and release it. They don't seem to be particularly happy about the fact that he's turned to the IG to get it done, but they also understand that he is saying that if it doesn't happen quickly, and he's expecting by the midterms, if it doesn't happen by then, he himself may go ahead and just declassify it, because he's said, you know, this has to happen quick. So it's a strategy that's being played out here, obviously, by Trump. I don't know what his strategy is. I don't think anyone, maybe outside of his very most inner circle, if that even, he might be keeping all this stuff to himself, what his strategy is. But I think it's pretty clear that he does have a strategy, and that strategy is based on doing something after the midterms. He seems like he really doesn't want to do anything before the midterms, and that may be very good. May be very good, maybe strategy, maybe very bad strategy. I just don't know because I don't know what he's got in store. But he's obviously got a plan. It appears that his plan is to wait till after the midterms. He obviously feels pretty comfortable at the fact that the Republicans are going to do well, hold the House, gain seats in the Senate, and maybe that's what he's hoping for is a stronger hand. And also, if he and the Republicans do very well, then he can kind of see that as having a bit of a mandate to carry out what he has to do. And I think that's what he's looking for, is more of a mandate from the voters to do the things that he thinks he needs to do, which could be politically risky. But he doesn't want to do it right before the midterms and cost the Republicans the House or the Senate or something like that. So I think he's just being cautious. But there's no question he's got something planned, and he's going to start dealing with it after the midterms. I have no doubt in my mind it has something to do with getting rid of Uncle Bob the Executioner if he's not done by then. I definitely believe that Rodenstein will be probably gone one way or another, maybe even before then. I think he wants to fire Sessions. I think that may happen. Don't know about no shit Sherlock Ray, how safe he is, but I think Trump's going to make a major move after the midterms. And I know why Trump feels good about the midterms. It's the same reason I feel good about the midterms. As I said, I think that the Democrats will get somewhere between +5 and -5 in the House, and I think the Republicans will pick up 2 to 3 Senate seats in the Senate, more than they have now. So they should end up with 53 to 54. And if he does well in the midterms, then of course that puts more pressure on Democrats in red states. So not only would he have a few more senators, Republicans, but he would also have some more Democrats who, because of where they are, they would be pressured to support future court nominees or other things that are part of his agenda. Now, the reason I haven't really gone into this, because when we get closer, another 2 weeks or so, we'll really start focusing on the election. But just as a general thought, the reason why I feel that the Republicans are going to do very well is primarily because of how well Trump is doing. But it also has to do with the fact that the economy is doing really well. People feel pretty good about their jobs. We know that, and Trump hasn't gotten us into any bad wars. And so I think that's when people go to vote. I think that's the number one issue on their mind always is the economy and jobs. The economy and jobs. They'll put up with just about any shenanigans and any scandals going on around the president or his administration, just as long as the jobs situation looks good and the economy looks good. They'll tolerate all the other garbage. They expect it. It's the swamp. It's Washington, D.C., and they know who these people are. They just want to make sure they don't screw up the economy or mess up their job. So as long as that's pretty stable and people feel good about that, generally the president's party is going to do pretty well. And so I think Trump's got that going for him. You can also see that he's got really high approval numbers with his own party. He still brings in unbelievable amounts of people to his rallies. There's no Democrats out there that can come anywhere near the enthusiasm he can generate. And we all know that midterms are always about turnout. And I think he believes that he is going to get very, very strong turnout. And I agree with that. I think turnout is going to be a major key to why the Republicans will do well. Now, the Democrats, they believe they're also going to have good turnout, but I think that their turnout's going to be scattered. I think it will be high in certain places where they have enthusiasm. Keep in mind, the energy and the enthusiasm in the Democratic Party right now is with the Democratic Socialist wing, the Ocasio-Cortez wing of the party. The problem is that most of those Ocasio-Cortez type candidates, about 70-75% of them, lost. They did not win their seats. Corporate Democrats won those seats. So the Democrats have a very interesting thing going on. Unlike most midterm elections, where the party out of power has a agenda, they have a plan, something they're selling on the economy, on taxes, on health care, on immigration, and whatever. The Democrats don't really have, they're not really running on any issues. Because they really can't, because their party's divided. They have the Democratic Socialist wing of the party, which is where all their energy is, but they have the corporate Democrats, which is where all the money is, and all the influence, and most of their candidates, quite honestly. So they can't really run a national campaign on issues because they would have to be all over the place. So they can't really run on issues, but they think that the one thing they can run on, which will unite all of Democrats, Democratic Socialists, and corporates, is to run Stop Trump. Stop Trump, stop Trump. Obstruct, 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 stop Trump. That's the thing they think will bring all of them together. But the problem is that is probably not going to bring out a lot of Democrats in the Midwest, in the South, the Rust Belt, all these other places where you have these congressional races, where those Democrats might be union Democrats, might be blue-collar Democrats, might be business Democrats. They're not going to vote based on that. They are going to vote on their own interest, again, the state of the economy, their jobs, their business outlook, and things like that. So I just don't think that the Democrats are going to be able to generate the type of enthusiasm across the country. I think they'll be able to generate that enthusiasm in certain districts where they have certain types of candidates running. But I think across the board and in the areas where they really need to win tight races, or races that are considered up for grabs, I just don't. There's like 36 or 37 seats, according to the Cook report, that are really, could go either way. And I just don't think that they're going to win the majority of those 36. They would need to win at least 24 of them, right? I don't think they're going to do that. Again, I think that they're going to have a much lower turnout than they're expecting. Across the country, certain districts, I think they'll have a big turnout. But I think across the country, on the whole, they're not going to get the type of overall turnout that Trump and Republicans are going to get. And that's my main reason for believing that the election is going to turn out that way. Now, keep in mind, the Democrats are going to do everything they can to lie, cheat, and steal this election, including rigging the voting machines, having people vote as many times as possible, lots of illegals voting, all these types of things that they'll be doing. But they'll be doing them in corrupt places where they have control over that, which is not that many places. And who cares if they run up the vote in East LA? Who cares if they run up the vote in the Bronx? Who cares if they run up the vote, in New Jersey? They're going to win there anyway. A lot of the places where they would need to do a lot of the meddling and cheating and rigging are places that have Republican auditors, Republican governors, Republican state houses. It's going to be a little more difficult to rig there, as long as they haven't figured out a way to rig the actual machines, which they maybe have, and maybe we'll try that. But that's always very, very risky. Always a very risky proposition. So, that's my thoughts on that. Let's move on. Okay. We now have a second woman who's coming forward against Judge Kavanaugh. And I think we can all see exactly what this is. This is just, again, the Democrats' plan is to never, ever, ever allow Trump to get another Supreme Court justice appointed. They are going to run a political stunt on anyone. I don't care who he nominated. He could nominate Jesus Christ, and the Democrats would try to destroy him as well. They are going to try to obstruct, do everything they possibly can to keep any Trump appointee off the court. Anything, there's nothing they won't do. And you can bet they've got probably dozens of people lined up to oppose any of the people on Trump's list as a judge. Probably already got their names written down, their stories all put together. This is a complete plot that's very well thought out and coordinated, and they're executing it as we move forward. And that's why I said last 2, 3, 4 videos, they need to shut it down. Stop it. As long as you let the Democrats play this game, they'll continue to roll out new people. They can cultivate these people from anywhere. So now we have a second woman who's now come forward. Her name is Deborah Ramirez. She attended Yale with Kavanaugh in the mid-1980s. This was reported by The New Yorker. Reported by The New Yorker, of course, we all know what they're all about. And, of course, there's classmates of both Kavanaugh and Ramirez who have now given accounts regarding Miss Ramirez's statement. So Ramirez says that Kavanaugh thrust his penis in her face during a dorm room party. Well, who hasn't done that? So Kavanaugh thrust his penis in her face during a dorm room party, which she said she pushed him away. Yeah, that's what they usually do. She says she was drinking heavily on the night in question. That's good to hear. So she, just like the other accuser, was drunk as well. That's always an important thing to keep in mind. So she was drinking heavily on that night in question. Ramirez has significant gaps in her memory as well. And she says that her account was the result of 6 days of careful reflection in conjunction with her attorney. So she didn't even have to go to a regressive therapist. She went to an attorney who helped her remember this event of Mr. Kavanaugh allegedly sticking his pecker in her face. Now, Kavanaugh, of course, denies the allegation and calls it a smear. The report now, of course, this report names witnesses, 3 specifically. One unnamed classmate, of course, recalled hearing about the event. There's one unnamed classmate who says she recalls hearing about the event, while another, Mark Krasberg, says Kavanaugh's conduct at Yale was much discussed among alumni after his nomination to the High Court. In other words, this guy's alumni. He's a teacher at Yale. You know what his political colors are. Probably a good friend of the Right Reverend. Once we start digging into Miss Ramirez, we dig into this other woman, we dig into Mr. Krasberg. Once we dig into these people, we'll find they all got connections to the DNC, to the Clintons, to everyone else. The same usual suspects is where you'll find these people lead. They're probably have been to anti-Trump marches. They're probably donors. These people are just being cultivated, and are willing to do this stuff because they're part of the resistance. It's very simple. We have another unnamed student regarding the Ramirez case who says that she was one of Ramirez's closest friends at Yale. And she said Ramirez had never mentioned this event to her. And, of course, the New Yorker was not able to confirm that Kavanaugh was present at the party where Ramirez says she was assaulted. It is not clear whether Ramirez would participate in the proceedings on Thursday. Okay, so it's another woman who admits she was drunk, who can't find anyone to corroborate her story, and it's almost like a redo. It's like almost the exact same thing. Allegations that cannot be proven or disproven. You can't really prove or disprove because there's no one to corroborate anything. It's just her word against his word and some other people giving their opinions. Again, you can't nail any of this down, which is exactly what it's designed to do. It's a political stunt. Now, the Gateway Pundit interviewed 3 of Kavanaugh's dorm room mates regarding this Romero issue. Dino Ewing, Louisa Gary, and Dan Murphy. They all knew both Kavanaugh and Ramirez, and they all say that they think that they would have heard about it if that had occurred, and they said they did not. Ramirez, like Ford, seems to be the only one that can remember the events they say happened, while everyone else around them, who may have had knowledge, deny or contradict either of these events happening. The one woman says she was a very good friend of both Kavanaugh and Ramirez, and she said she was one of Ramirez's closest friends, and that she said they shared many personal stories, personal, intimate things with each other, and she said Ramirez never said anything to her about this. She said she surely would have. They were all buddies. They all hung out, and they were all friends of Kavanaugh. I think there's just some of these women that are so hate Trump so much that they feel that they are justified to come out and lie and make this stuff up to stop Kavanaugh because they believe that it's worth it. That yes, they're lying, but they're justified in the lie because the ends justify the means. That Trump is such a monster that in allowing a conservative on the court is so dangerous to their feelings on abortion that they cannot let it happen. So morally, they feel that they are justified to lie because they believe that morally they are right on the issue, and therefore it justifies the lie that they're telling. I really believe that's the psychology going on in the minds of these dimwits and liars. Oh, but it doesn't stop there. No. It doesn't stop there. We now have Saggy Daniels' lawyer, Michael Avenatti. He also says that he has an accuser of Kavanaugh, and it's not Ramirez. It's someone else. So now Michael Avenatti says he has an accuser of Kavanaugh. He says she has witnesses, and he's going to be dropping that sometime this week. So clearly you can see the plan is to stop Kavanaugh whatever it takes, to do whatever it takes. There'll be no end. They probably have a dozen people that they can roll out. They'll roll out whenever the situation looks like it's about to be resolved and Kavanaugh could be confirmed. They'll roll out another allegation, and they'll keep it up and keep it up, and none of it will be true, and they know it. It's just all a stunt. That's why you got to bring it to a conclusion. But you knew Saggy's lawyer couldn't resist staying out of this. There was a camera around. You knew he couldn't stay away. Turn in your guns, Mr. and Mrs. America. Feinstein has finally given Christine Ford's letter to Grassley, and he has released it. And of course, if you've seen the letter, you can easily see that in the second paragraph, the sentence that makes the accusation against Kavanaugh uses completely different and larger text than the rest of the letter. It is in the second paragraph right there where the charge is leveled. So you look at this letter, many of you have already seen it, you can see clearly that right there in the second paragraph, the very first or second sentence where the charge is made, it's completely different texts and it's larger, and it looks like it was like jammed into the sentence, like they copy and pasted it in where it doesn't fit or something. It doesn't look right, and it's obviously something going on with that, and that's probably why Turn in Your Guns, Mr. and Mrs. America Feinstein did not want to release the letter, because it looks awfully suspicious, like everything else with Mrs. Ford. Lindsey Graham says there is compelling evidence that the FBI, this is on a different topic, by the way, Lindsey Graham says there is compelling evidence that the FBI, meaning Comey, was paying Christopher Steele for compiling info on Trump before he was working for Fusion GPS. This is a result of 70 pages of documents recently acquired by Judicial Watch that they had subpoenaed. So this is from newly released documents requested by Judicial Watch, 70 pages. One document shows that Steele was admonished by the FBI in February of 2016. February of 2016. That would be 4 months before he was admitted that he worked for Fusion GPS. This also confirms that Steele was being paid by the FBI. Well, we already knew that he was being paid by the FBI. I think that came up once before in the Strzok page text where we learned, it was the Bruce Orr stuff, where every time Orr met with Steele, Orr did a debriefing with the FBI and Steele got paid. It was like 11 or 12 payments made to Steele. But this was later in the summer. But what this is showing us now is that, remember, Christopher Steele has gone on record in a court filing, as well as under oath in a deposition in his civil suits, saying that he didn't start working for Confusion GPS until the beginning of June, or late May, early June. What's his name from Confusion GPS, Glenn Simpson, has also stated that he didn't start working for Confusion GPS until late May, early June. But I guess no one's ever asked him if he was actually officially working for the FBI and when he started working for them. But now we know from this one document in the 70-page release that the FBI was admonishing Steele back as early as February 2016, which means he was working for them at least as early as February of 2016, long before June of 2016, which just shows us that that Christopher Steele and the FBI were working together long before that, long before what we knew. We're finding out this entire plot as we get farther and farther into it. We're finding out that all these things that were all happening much earlier than we ever thought. Well, it is Monday, so we do have the Dumbass of the Week, and I have awarded the Dumbass of the Week to Mazie Hirono. Now, a week or two ago, no one even knew who she was, but based on her statements about telling men to shut up and stand up, and of course telling CNN on Sunday morning that Kavanaugh could not be trusted because of his views on abortion. And essentially what she said in that interview as well is that, Republican accusers can't be trusted. Only Democrat accusers can be trusted. That's essentially what she said on CNN. So it's pretty much a no-brainer this week. I think Mazie Hirono easily deserves the dumbass of the week for her statements, and she continues now to run her mouth. She's showing up now all over TV on interviews, and she could be getting up there into the rarefied air of dumbasses of the week and dumbasses in the Democratic Party as general, such as with people like Mad Max, the Right Reverend Clinton, Debbie Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz, the nut down in Florida who wears the crazy hats, you know, the wingbats, the nuttiest of the nutty in the Democratic Party. She is now in fine company with all of them, Ocasio-Cortez and all the rest. Some of you have mentioned in the comments section, and even I have commented myself, that the very best way for the Republicans and for these people who are being accused to put a stop to this kind of garbage that we're seeing with these plots is to file a slander suit in civil court against their accusers. For instance, Kavanaugh will be able to go into civil court after this is over if the only evidence that comes out is the evidence that we have now, which is that his accuser has no single witness to anything, and the only 4 witnesses or 3 witnesses other than Kavanaugh that she produced all contradict her statement, but she's made these claims against Kavanaugh. Well, typically what he could do is take her to civil court and sue her for slandering him, and he would win, because even her 3 witnesses dispute it. When you make a charge against someone, you better be able to prove it, because even if you're not criminally liable, you can be taken to civil court, and if someone feels that they've lost money or credibility or character or whatever, a job opportunities, any type of damage that they may feel been brought to them by a person slandering them, they can sue them in civil court. And in this case, no question in my mind, if at the end of the day, everything we know today is pretty much all we know, and this ends this particular case with this accuser of Kavanaugh, then I think he would have a slam dunk civil case against her for slander. But of course, we know that there are Democratic operatives behind this, and so when they put all this together for this plot, they made sure to set this up in such a way that Kavanaugh could not do that, because they know if any one of these people who are accused ever decide to actually file a civil suit and win a huge civil case with a lot of damages, that will keep any further liars from coming forward, because they'll know they'll end up just like Cole. They'll end up being sued in civil court and losing big. So here's what the Democrats did to make sure that their liar accuser could be protected from a civil lawsuit. What they did was they gave this letter, which started the whole thing, not directly to Feinstein. No. They gave it to this California Democrat Congressperson, Anna Eshoo. And then Eshoo gave it to Feinstein. And they're going to say that when they gave it to Eshoo, it was supposed to be confidential, and that the accuser didn't give permission. She wanted to remain anonymous. That's their story. It always has been. So that's their coverage to keep her from being sued in a slander suit in civil court. That's how they get out of it. They can, if you try to sue her, her attorney will say, well, she wanted to remain anonymous. She gave it to her local congressperson, and her local congressperson is the one who gave it to Feinstein, and it was Feinstein or someone on her staff or someone else that leaked it to the Washington Post, and that's how it became public. It almost becomes a little bit like the BuzzFeed case with Gubarev and Christopher Steele. The same type of thing. Only here what they did was they inserted a middleman to give cover to their accuser, who's their operative, who their liar, the accuser who's working for them, to make sure that they could give her legal protections so she could not be sued for slander, which is lying about someone. So that's how they're covering themselves. Again, this is how you know this was all a plot set up by Democratic operatives, because they were thinking about this way in advance. They were thinking, what do we do to protect her to make sure that she doesn't get sued for slander in civil court? Oh, here's how you get around that. And so you can see this is why they did this thing the way they did it, was because they knew that their accuser was going to come and make this gigantic lie. It was going to be going to be able to be proven, and could set her up for a case of being sued in civil court for slander. So this is how they removed that variable. The Gateway Pundit is reporting that Lisa Page told congressional investigators that she took Rodenstein seriously when he brought up recording Trump in a meeting. She took it seriously. So I think they're going to have hearings or investigations into that. They'll get everybody together, they'll interview them, and then they'll bring in Rosenstein, they'll see if his story matches theirs, and we'll find out what happens there. We'll keep watching that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be back tomorrow. See ya. Bye.